Ed Gein, a name synonymous with unimaginable horror, committed atrocities that still send chills down our spines. This was a man who walked among us, whose seemingly ordinary exterior masked a heart of darkness and a mind twisted by unimaginable terrors. Ed Gein, a name that has etched itself into the annals of criminal history, a name that conjures images of the macabre and the chilling, a name that for many signifies the embodiment of pure, unadulterated evil. And yet he was not born a monster. He was made one, molded by a life of isolation, abuse, and utter despair. Gein's tale is not for the faint-hearted. His crimes were so horrific, so chilling, that they have served as the inspiration for some of the most iconic and terrifying characters in horror cinema. Norman Bates in Psycho, Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs, all born from the twisted mind of Ed Gein. But who was this man really? Beneath the headlines, the horror, and the hype, who was Ed Gein? A quiet, unassuming man from rural Wisconsin, he was as far removed from the archetypal image of a serial killer as one could imagine. And yet within him lurked a darkness so profound, so all-consuming, that it would ultimately lead him down a path of unimaginable horror. His reputation as one of history's most notorious serial killers is well-deserved. The nature of his crimes, the sheer depravity of his actions, has ensured his place in the pantheon of history's most terrifying figures. His name, now synonymous with horror, sends shivers down the spine of even the most hardened true crime enthusiasts. But what led him down this path of destruction? What turned this seemingly ordinary man into a monster? The answers to these questions are as complex as they are disturbing. They delve into the darkest corners of the human psyche, forcing us to confront our deepest fears and darkest nightmares. Hold on to your seats as we delve into the chilling life of Ed Gein. Born in 1906, Edward Theodore Gein's life was marred by tragedy from the start. Nestled in the heart of Wisconsin, he was the second son of George and Augusta Gein, and their relationship was far from conventional. George, a man of weak will and character, was frequently overshadowed by Augusta, his domineering wife. Augusta, a deeply religious woman, was the primary influence in Edward's life, and her fanatic beliefs seeped into his young mind, painting a skewed picture of the world and its moralities. Augusta's teachings were laced with fire and brimstone, and she instilled in Edward a deep fear and mistrust of women. She was both his protector and tormentor, her love laced with the poison of her fanaticism. This twisted mother-son relationship laid the groundwork for Edward's emotional instability and his distorted views on women and morality. The seeds of madness were sown early in Gein's life. In 1945, the death of his mother was a pivotal moment for Gein. Augusta Gein, his domineering and religiously fanatic mother, was the only figure of authority in his life, the only person he ever really knew or loved. With her passing, Gein lost more than a mother. He lost his anchor to reality. Shrouded in grief, he found himself isolated from the world. Living in the desolate family farmhouse, he was alone, left with nothing but his thoughts, his obsessions. His mother's death ignited a morbid curiosity in him. He began to delve deeper into the macabre world of death and anatomy, a dark fascination that would ultimately lead to his gruesome crimes. The isolation, the obsession, the loneliness, they all played a part in shaping Gein's twisted psyche. His mother's influence lingered, even in death, steering him into a world of unimaginable horror. With his mother gone, Gein was alone, free to explore his darkest fascinations. The quiet, secluded farmhouse was a perfect cover for Gein's heinous acts. A chilling silence enveloped the place, belying the ghastly secrets it held within its age-worn walls. It wasn't until late 1957 that the world would come to know the true extent of Ed Gein's monstrous deeds. The quiet, unassuming man, known by locals as just an oddball, was thrust into the limelight as his heinous crimes were brought to light. At the heart of Gein's malevolence were two confirmed murders. The first, a local tavern owner named Mary Hogan, vanished in 1954. Her disappearance, initially shrouded in mystery, was later linked to Gein when parts of her remains were found in his home. The second, a hardware store owner named Bernice Worden, met a similar fate in late 1957. Her disappearance led to a police search that ultimately uncovered the grisly reality of Gein's secluded farmhouse. But the true horror was not just in the murders. The shocking state of Gein's home, once entered by the authorities, revealed a nightmarish tableau. The farmhouse was filled with human remains, But these were not just trophies of his killings. They were crafted into everyday items: chairs upholstered with human skin, bowls made from skulls, and even clothing stitched together from the flesh of his victims. Gein's macabre fascination with the human body was not limited to his victims. He had been robbing graves, taking bodies of recently deceased women who he thought resembled his mother, and using their skin and bones to decorate his home and create his grotesque items. The discovery of Gein's crimes sent shockwaves through the nation. The quiet, secluded farmhouse, a place that should have been a sanctuary of peace and solitude, was instead a house of horrors, a grim testament to the twisted mind of one man, a place where life was not respected but horrifically exploited. A home that should have been a place of sanctuary was instead a house of horrors. In 1957, the reign of terror ended as Gein was finally captured. The nightmare that had held the town of Plainfield, Wisconsin in its icy grip was finally brought to a close. But the capture of Ed Gein was not the result of a thrilling chase or a grand showdown. Rather, it was a series of peculiarities and coincidences that led authorities directly to him. After an unfortunate local woman vanished, the last place she was seen was at Gein's property. This prompted a search that revealed the true horror of his crimes. The house was a chilling tableau of human remains, transformed into furniture, clothing, and worse. The gruesome discovery shocked the world. When Gein was apprehended, he confessed to his crimes without resistance. His calm demeanor in the face of his horrific actions was unsettling. The trial that followed was one of the most sensational of its time. The courtroom was filled to the brim with spectators, journalists, and members of the public, all eager to catch a glimpse of the man behind the monstrous acts. The trial revealed a man who was more pitiful than fearsome. Gein was diagnosed with schizophrenia and found legally insane. His mental state made it difficult for him to comprehend the gravity of his actions. Rather than the electric chair or a life behind bars, he was committed to a mental institution, Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane. His time at the hospital was marked by compliance and passivity. He was described by staff as a model patient, a far cry from the monster the world knew him as. His life dwindled away within the sterile walls of the institution, a world away from the home where he committed his horrific crimes. Gein's horrifying tale ended not with a bang, but with a whimper, locked away from the world he'd terrified. His story serves as a chilling reminder of the depths to which the human mind can sink when left unchecked. A tale of horror, madness, and tragedy. The legacy of Ed Gein continues to haunt us to this very day. Ed Gein's impact reached far beyond his small Wisconsin town. This man, whose name would become synonymous with horror, left a chilling legacy that still reverberates through popular culture today. He wasn't just a man, he was a monster, a figure of fear that transcended the boundaries of his crime scenes and seeped into the collective consciousness of the world. Gein's story, as macabre as it is, has served as a dark muse to many creators. It has inspired characters that have become iconic in their own right, each one a terrifying reflection of Gein's twisted psyche. Take Norman Bates, the main character in Alfred Hitchcock's classic thriller, Psycho. Bates, a troubled man with a complex relationship with his mother, mirrors Gein's own unhealthy attachment to his maternal figure. Both men, trapped in the suffocating grip of their mother's influence, descend into a spiral of madness and murder. Then there's Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a hulking brute who wears a mask made from the skin of his victims. The character's gruesome aesthetic is a direct nod to Gein's own horrific habit of fashioning items from human remains. And let's not forget Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs, a serial killer with a penchant for skinning his victims. This character, like Gein, blurs the line between human and monster, forcing us to confront the darkness that can dwell within us all. But it's not just these characters that tell of Gein's enduring influence. Even today, people continue to be fascinated by his story. Books are written, documentaries are made, and online forums buzz with theories and speculations. His crimes, his life, his twisted mind, they all continue to captivate and terrify us. Ed Gein, a man whose unspeakable acts still haunt our nightmares, remains a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places. His legacy, as unsettling as it is, serves as a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity and the eerie fascination we have with it.